Hello, folks. How are you? Welcome back to episode 100. Well, not welcome back. Welcome to, I guess, episode 144. That's what happens when you're an amateur, podcaster, and you do episodes probably once a week or once every 2 weeks. But thanks for joining us, everybody. Again, this episode is sponsored by our friends at Atmosphere Electrical, based out of Colchester County and Truro. Great friends, great sponsors of the company. So electrical needs, there you have it. Let's get into it. We have a fantastic episode. Really excited to be joined and honored to be joined by this guy. He's very well known in the mixed martial arts industry. He's worldwide, globally known for his interviews, the work that he puts into the sport. He does lots of interviews, podcasting, blogging. He's when it comes to MMA journalists in the sport, he's at the top of the top. And I'm super happy that he's Canadian. He's also a very good commentator. He commentates for a good promotion on the West Coast, Rise FC. Put on some beautiful events in Vancouver and do a great job. Hopefully they're pulling off an event in March. I'm not sure. We'll hear about it. So ours got canceled yesterday, and we'll finish off this podcast with my feelings on that. So let's get into it. Let's bring on Mr. James Lynch. How are you, sir?
I'm fantastic, and the honor's all mine, man. Thank you so much for having me on.
No, well, I appreciate it very much. It's been years in the making, and I appreciate your patience. And you're killing it, man. How's everything out in Vancouver?
It's going well. It's worth the wait, isn't it? I mean, this was good that we got to connect here. A big fan of the work you guys are doing, obviously with the promotion as well. I've said it again, we got some great MMA here in Canada, and it's just unfortunate we don't have more opportunities for these fighters or more platforms, but we're pulling our weight, right? We're doing our part. So that's sort of the good thing. But thank you so much for the kind words off the top. And to answer your question, I'm doing awesome. It's great to talk to you.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, it's, at the end of the day, James, we can sit here and bitch and complain and get caught up in the negativity, but, and I see these people outside of our sport going, oh, why are they complaining? But, at the end of the day, it's a business have to run, but I can also see other people's point of views who are saying, listen, there's a lot more important things in life, right?
Absolutely. I just think, if we're doing our part, whether it's, in your case, putting on shows or doing podcasts, if I'm interviewing fighters, if I'm trying to give them a bit of shine, I'm cool with that. I feel like that's, it's needed in this sport. There needs to be more positivity, especially in this day and age, a lot of negativity going on with the pandemic. So happy to give you guys some positive stuff going on.
Very true, man. Very well said too. And I couldn't agree more. There's leaders in this community, and, it's, I forget it sometimes myself being 40 years old that, I am 40. And there's people in this industry that are 19, 20 coming into this industry. And it's so important to, as much as you can get caught up in that negative role, it's so important to kind of put that brave face on and be like, I can't be negative, because these kids they're looking for opportunities and they need you to be positive.
Absolutely. And by the way, 40 years young. I'm 36, so I'm not far behind you. So, which actually surprising to people. Some people think I look a lot younger. I'll take it. It's all good. I can tell that to my wife, so it's fine by me. But no, I agree. I just, in general, a lot of the stuff I try and put out there is positive. There's a lot of negativity out there. A lot of people, I get it. A lot of people are struggling now. They have a lot of negative things going on in their life. The way they deal with that is unfortunately coming against people like me, who have a platform. Yeah. So I always keep that in mind. I try not to take stuff too personal, but just positivity, positive vibes only,
Yeah, it is, man. You have a positive face about you too. Some people it's funny, James, like you don't want to say, looks, do justice, but if someone's, and I'm as guilty, like if you're sitting there like this, yeah, like if you have a great smile, like you're positive, and at the end of the day, that's what people want to watch.
Absolutely. That's something I try and get in the habit of, because sometimes when you're doing so many interviews, at times your face will just, you're tired. Sometimes you forget, hey, I'm on camera. Yeah. So I actually try and make a point of smiling. There are the odd times where I'll see like someone grab a screen grab from one of my interviews and I'm like this, and it's like, I'm not mad. It's just like, I'm tired. I do a lot of interviews, man. Like,
yeah, that's so well, let's get into that. Obviously you started in this stuff in 2008. You came out of journalism school. You never kind of realized what you were going to get into combat sports, but you took it on. It's become your full career now. And how did you get into this kind of stuff? What made you so interested?
Well, I like the research there. You're 100% right. Yeah, 2008 is when I got my start at Fight Network years ago, back when Fight Network was doing MMA, when they were on the forefront, when they were sort of industry leaders in that regard. And I was very fortunate, getting to work with the likes of Mauro Ranallo, John Pollock, John Ramdeen, like all these great talents that are, for the most part, still in the industry. Ramdeen, I don't know what he's up to, but he's one of the best commentators out there. If you haven't seen those TKO cards with him doing commentary with Robin Black, he's one of the best out there, and I think highly underrated. So I started there, did my thing at Fight Network for a while, learned a lot, ended up I always kind of tell people the Coles Notes sort of roadmap that I took. But I was working at Fight Network, wasn't making that much money. I worked there for a couple of years, went to TSN. That was my day job. And then I was an editor there. And then I was doing sort of fight stuff on the side, actually for TSN at the time too. They were like, hey, I know you did some stuff for Fight Network. Would you want to do some writing and interviews for us? And I said, sure. So I did that on the side. And basically for the next couple of years, I was just having like a full-time job in the television industry and then doing MMA on the side. And then it was like 2013, 2014, I started doing the video interviews with a focus of not just UFC fighters, but regional fighters, Canadian fighters, a lot of variety there. And those relationships that I built early on ended up really benefiting me later on, because a lot of these fighters are in the UFC now. So it wasn't until October of 2017, I was going to be a dad for the first time. I couldn't do both. I couldn't have the full-time job and do this on the side. So I took the dive. Left my full-time job at Rogers. I was working at City TV on their digital side, and left that. Went and worked for a bunch of different outlets. So at the time when I was working full-time, I was just with MMA Oddsbreaker and Flow Combat. I ended up working for a bunch of other outlets, including Fansided, Fightful, just a whole bunch of outlets to kind of make up what would be like a full-time salary. Fast forward to May of 2019, I got hired by The Score as their senior news editor. Did that for a year and a bit. COVID hit. They got rid of my position. I'm back to freelancing. Couldn't be happier. So many cool opportunities. Super grateful, super blessed to be in this industry, because it's, you know this, it's so tough to do this full time. And I've kind of made my own path where I'm probably the only guy, well, I am the only guy who's doing this full time, just strictly with video content. So I've sort of made it work. Yeah, there's some, there's some challenges with it, but I really love what I do.
Yeah, well, that's a great story, and it's no different than a fighter, James, or an athlete. It's like that struggle behind the scenes of getting there and the hard work, the different things that you have to do. But it's funny that you say that kind of stuff, because you're so polished in what you do, and it's amazing when there's people who come from that video, actual professional, like TSN, Sportsnet, Rogers, whatever it happens to be, that background, compared to people who aren't, like myself. I'm just a regular guy on here, and it's funny the difference, because like just keywords that you use and how. Like there's other guys I see do it, and it's when it's polished, it's really done really well. And video content is so important these days, and some people still don't understand that.
Well, I got kind of lucky because, I started with video content. And of course, now everyone has to do that with the pandemic. So I had like a, 4 or 5 year head start on a lot of people in terms of trying to polish that up. But the big thing, and it's like, I have a television background, and I definitely, did a lot of like, I went to university at Carleton, had a communications degree, and then also did 2 years of television broadcasting at Algonquin College in Ottawa as well. So yes, I have the background, but honestly, it's the reps. I mean, if I didn't do as many interviews as I've done, I would not be as polished as I am today. I get a lot of questions from people. How'd you get your start? How'd you do it? To me, it's consistency. There were never like stretches of periods of time where I was not doing content. I've always been doing that. And that I think has helped me. And also just getting better and trying to, reach out to people and say, hey, people that I respect, people that I see doing what I want to do, I would reach out to them and say, hey, what am I doing wrong? What are some tips you can give? Whether it's the production, whether it's, things I do on camera, the questions I ask. So I think as long as you're evolving and you're being consistent with your content, you can find success in this industry.
So true. Great advice. And like being honest with yourself is such an important skill that a lot of people
big time
really
You get a lot of egos in this industry. You know what I mean? Like people think they got it all figured out. The second you do that, the second you're not going to get ahead. I'm still learning. I'm still not great at what I do. There's ways I need to improve. You mentioned me doing commentary. Like I have no mixed martial arts background. So for me, diving into that, it's been a real sort of work on the job type thing. And shout out to Sabah Fadai for giving me the opportunity. It's still something that I need to work on. So, but I like that. I like that I still have things where I get up every day and it's like, okay, this is the challenge I've got to tackle. So it's all about, evolving in the industry.
Yeah, growing. Well, that's like for me as a promoter, I hate the word promoter because everyone's always like, it's just I wish that we could come up with a different name, but it's I look at like those events, Rise or BFL or anybody else, like these are events like when they're putting on 6, 7, 8 pro fights, good pro fights, high level, good pro fights where the fighter's going to the UFC next, possibly. That's where I look at it. It's like, that's where we need to get to and grow and learn from all these other people who've been doing these events. And it's, it's like you say, if you don't learn, I say it all the time. We have no idea what we're doing. We're just learning and growing, and there's no real book or script to this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I think a big thing too is being humble. I mean, that last the Rise FC event we did in Victoria, which was Tristan Connolly was in the main event. That was his last fight before the UFC. I mean, Don Andrews and Don, who does the in-cage and ring announcing, we were folding up chairs and putting stuff together for the event. Like that's just how we are. It doesn't matter that we're the commentators. It's a family. It's a team effort there. And so as long as you have that mentality that you're just like everyone else, and you're just I always feel that way. Like when people introduce me on shows and stuff. stuff. I just think like I'm a regular guy like everyone else. And I think that's a good mindset to have, because if you get the ego in the way, then that's when you run into problems. I've always sort of had that attitude.
Yeah, it's a good, but it's leading by example, right? And you can tell, like, even when you kind of how you your personality, just like that. So in being humble, man, it's like our community is like that too out here on the East Coast. It's very much kind of help one another, and when you're there, kind of grab a chair, and you have other people that don't, but at the end of the day, it's a tight community, and it's the way you're going to grow, man. So speaking of Rise FC, are they going to move forward? Is that still moving forward?
So March 13th, I'll tell you right now, they just announced it this week. I've known about this for a couple of weeks, but they obviously had to wait for all the red tape. So the main event is actually awesome. So it's going to be Elias Theodoro and Matt Dwyer in the main event of the Rise FC card on March 13th. That's going to be in Victoria. That was supposed to be the same. Well, it's the same night as what was supposed to be Hamzat Chimaev and Leon Edwards. For those who didn't hear, that fight's off. But yeah, it's really exciting. So they have that fight. They have Chad N. Helliger, the double Rise FC champ. He's the bantamweight and flyweight champion, taking on Ty Wilson out of TriStar. And then just a couple other like notable names on there as well too. But really good card shaping up so far. And I'm excited to go back to the island. I actually went to high school out there, so I'm really excited to get back out there.
Nice. That's exciting, man. And I'm glad they're able to pull one off. It's it's the amount of red tape it's insane. So
tough. People have no idea how tough it is to put on a regional event.
Yeah, it's really, really, especially right now, it's insane. So, well, that's really, really good, man. I'm glad to hear that, and hopefully they pull it off successfully, and they can keep going and doing them more regularly. Because I heard a couple other events were looking at coming back too, but we'll see. You're commentating again with Don?
No, no. Don does the in-cage announcing. That was my bad. That's kind of what I meant. Robin Black's actually going to be my commentary partner, and Robin and I go way back because we used to work at Fight Network together. So it'll be the first time Robin and I have had a chance to do commentary. I'm really excited about that. Perfect.
Yeah, he's killing it too, man. It's funny. I say this all the time. I don't know what's in the water in Canada, but literally the best, like, and I'm saying it, but the best like MMA media. If you put like an all-star team of MMA media, it'd be all Canadian.
I agree. And Robin's kind of doing the equivalent of what I'm doing, but for like the commentary side of things. So it's really cool to see what he's been able to do since leaving Fight Network. He's been killing it as well with Bellator and, Lethway, and he's been doing a lot of really cool stuff.
Yeah, promoting the sport, like what we're all trying to do. It's awesome to see, man. So keep up what you guys are all doing. I'm a big fan. So I know we only got a couple minutes left. I know you're a busy man.
No, we got 10 minutes. We're good. We can fit a lot into 10 minutes. Let's do it up here.
All right. So for an upcoming journalist, a big thing like the do nots. A lot of people, I see a lot of people like they get into this game and they're pretty new, and it's just they're shooting messages out on Instagram, and it's like I want, or whatever. What's your advice for people that are trying to kind of get their self in the sport, but
I got a lot of advice. So I actually have a video coming out of my channel probably this weekend. I have a similar one on my channel, but I hated the way I shot it. And so I just redid it basically. And it's kind of my like tips for people getting into the industry. A couple things. So first off, figure out what you want to do. A lot of people, when they get into this, they don't know what they want to do. Do you want to do opinion pieces? Do you want to do interviews? Do you want to do play-by-play? Do you want to figure out what it is you want to do? I say try everything, try a little bit of everything, especially writing. That's such a hireable thing in this industry. Like if you can write, then you'll get hired. There's more writing jobs than anything else. So learn how to write news. That's sort of the big thing. It would be sort of my first advice. My second advice is figure out people. Once you figured out kind of what you like doing, then figure out the people who are the best at it and sort of model after them or reach out to them. A lot of people in this industry are very accessible, like myself, other people's. I mention it all the time on my podcast. My DMs are always open. I always get people asking me, questions about the industry. So, get feedback, ask people, how am I doing? Can you have a look at this? A lot of people are very generous with their time. So there's that. And then the other thing is something I touched on earlier, which is, if you're starting out, don't just interview UFC fighters. Like I see people make this mistake all the time. There's this mentality that people have where they think I'm going to interview a UFC fighter and the interview is going to go viral and that's how I'm going to get my big break. No, that's not how it's going to work. How it works is you lay the groundwork. Like I was telling you off the top with the way I did things. Do the UFC interviews, but do the regional fighters as well. Get that experience, get the reps in. You're not going to, look, if I'm doing an interview with, a big name fighter and you're doing the same interview, who are they going to watch? They'll watch me first because I'm established. That's who you're up against. With the regional fighters, there could always be used, more coverage, whether it's Canadian fighters, women's MMA, international MMA. There's always fighters that need, and even to today, I still interview amateur fighters. Like to me, it's exciting to, get to talk to someone for the first time and move up. So that's another thing is don't just focus on the UFC, get sort of everything there. The third thing, and I see this happen a lot of people on social media, Twitter's a great place to get work, to interact with the MMA community, but I see a lot of people just trashing journalists. Like, you're an idiot. What do you think what do you think's going to happen if you do that? It's going to come back and bite you. This is a small industry. I see people going after Ariel Helwani all the time. Like, what do you hope to accomplish by that? So I say, what I just do pretty much is just post my content. I'll post the odd opinion here and there, but social media can be a bit tricky that way. But yeah, just keep things professional. Don't wear, ball cap and t-shirt during your interviews. I wear a golf shirt, try and be a little bit professional, make it distinguish who the fighter is in the interview, type thing. So that's another one. And then, just the biggest thing is consistency. Don't start off and say, I'm going to do, I say you're going to do all these interviews. I see this happen a lot too. A lot of people are like, I have all these guests lined up. Well, do the interviews first and then show us what you've done. Don't tell us what you're going to do. I tell people, start out doing one piece of content a week. That's a small commitment that's very achievable. Do that. Make sure it's consistent. Don't do, 5 interviews a week and then take 3 months off, because that's not how you build up a brand. You have to think of yourself as a brand. So, get the social media profile out there. Use your real name. Don't use some fake name with a fake avatar. If you want to be in this industry, if you want to make a living or get paid in this industry, do those things as well. Those are some key pieces of advice I think that would help anyone in this industry.
That's very well said, man. All super important information from somebody who's been here and done that. And it's, for me, again, we started doing these kind of interviews because of COVID, and it was just more of a kind of a thing, like as a promotion to keep building and kind of talk to fighters who are interested in fighting. But for me, I did like Ben Askren, and I literally almost shit my pants. Like, for me, it was like super nerve wracking, because I'm a big fan of Ben. And then I looked at it and I was like, oh, that was really neat. But then anytime I do an amateur fighter, I'm like, that is, for me, it's much more enjoyable because I don't know what to talk about with Ben at all. It's like, I'm not he's just doing it as like some kids writing him on the thing. It's not an outlet. He's doing it as a favor. But when you're doing it with people who it's like, oh, I've never done a podcast before. It's like, that's like, oh, cool. You're getting an outlet and I'm getting to talk to somebody who's learning something. That's what I really enjoy about it. Right.
So rewarding, isn't it? Like, to get to talk to someone new and kind of follow their journey along. Like, I can't tell you how many fighters I've talked to that, weren't anything when I first interviewed them. Sean O'Malley, I remember interviewing him before he blew up. That was one. Mackenzie Dern, although I guess Dern had a bit of a following from jiu-jitsu. There's a whole bunch that I've had the opportunity to talk to and are now, like Dominic Reyes. I remember when he was just an RFA, we were doing interviews, and now he's, almost beat John Jones, right? So it's cool to see like the progression of fighters throughout their career, or even someone like TJ Laramie. There's a good example. I interviewed TJ when he was 18 years old. Now he's in the UFC. Like, that's, for me, is cool to see his progression and kind of, as my career goes,
Yeah, that's it. You're a part of it, right? And all these guys definitely have that respect for you. So it's, I love it, man. And I look up to you too. I think a lot of people do. Like, I've had probably 5 or 6 messages today from people like, nice, you got James Lynch on the show. I watch him every single day, right? So it's funny, like I talk about this a lot on here too, the role that you play. And it goes back to exactly what you said, being professional, leading by example. And, I had a little bit of a rant there yesterday on Instagram after we found out that our event won't move forward. But at the end of the day, you got to keep it professional, and it is what it is. So anyway, right quick before we do let you go here, James, some quick predictions for this weekend.
Let's hear it. Yeah.
Who you got for Kelleher and Simon?
I actually have Kelleher for the upset here. I think he's really coming into his own right now. I like the fact that this is up a weight class as well. I think that will help Kelleher because he does cut a lot of weight. I see him pulling off the upset here, potentially by a decision.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm a big fan of his. I hope he does well. All right, Rodolfo.
Rodolfo, I got him in that fight. But saying that, I think the odds are way off on that one. Rodolfo, I think, is like almost a 3 to 4 to 1 favorite in that fight over Anthony Hernandez. Hernandez, I think, hasn't shown his best in the UFC. People forget this guy destroyed Jordan Wright on Contender Series. They ended up turning it to a no contest because of marijuana, and he beat Brendan Allen on the regional scene as well. Those are 2 quality wins that I don't think he gets enough credit for. So I think Hernandez potentially could either upset this fight, or there's definitely some value there in him as the underdog. But I will pick Rodolfo in that fight.
Interesting. Okay, cool. I like that. Marquez Mackey.
A little biased in this one because I do edit Julian Marquez's podcast every week, but I do like him in this fight because I think Marquez isn't the type of guy to get flatlined, and that's what Maki Pitolo does. Either Maki wins by knockout or he loses. So I think Marquez, even though he's had the long layoff, I think he's going to look really good here. I like the fact he's gone back to his roots, training at Glory MMA for this fight. I think you'll see a much more polished Julian Marquez in the cage, and I see him winning a decision.
Man, I like that answer a lot. All right. Jim Miller, Bobby Green.
I like Bobby Green there. I think it's Bobby's fight to lose. Jim, it's either gets a submission or he loses a decision. Green's the decision king these days, so I'll take him by decision.
Do you think either one retires?
No, I until they start getting to that point where they're getting finished over and over again, I think they're going to continue to fight.
Kelvin, Ian Heinisch.
That's a tough one. I'm going to take Kelvin. I think he bounces back here. I think on paper, he's the better fighter. He's got to just show something. I mean, 3 straight losses, getting embarrassed by Jack Hermanson in that last fight, getting submitted in the first round. I think you're going to see him look a lot better in this fight, but don't sleep on Heinisch either. He could play the role of spoiler.
Yeah, very true. I like his story. Very cool story. Macy Barber. Alexa Grasso.
So this is another tough one. I'm going to pick Grasso, but don't be surprised if Barber pulls off the upset here. I feel like a lot of the people picking Grasso are picking her because they don't like Macy. I mean, Macy, couldn't handle that loss against Roxanne Modafferi worse. You went after like a fan favorite in Roxanne Modafferi. I feel like that's blinding a lot of people. Macy's got power. People forget she knocked out Jillian Robertson in Boston in 2019 in the first round, which a lot of fighters have not been able to do. If Macy keeps us on the feet, Grasso might be more technical, but I do think that the damage might add up for Grasso as well if Barber can really tee off on her. I also like the Barber switch camp. She's at Valley Flow Striking with Juliana Pena. Much better camp for her, getting to work with some women. So I'll pick Grasso. I think it goes the distance regardless, but I think Barber could also pull out the upset here.
I like that. I'm actually a big fan of both of them, truthfully.
Yeah, same here. Yeah.
And then this is a hard one to pick, but Gilbert versus Usman.
So yeah, it is tough to pick. I like how Usman went to Elevation Fight Team to switch things up. Obviously, couldn't be at the same camp as his former teammate Gilbert Burns. I think Usman wins. Just more of a proven track record at welterweight. Very tough to finish. Very good cardio. I mean, we saw that against Colby Covington. Good wrestling as well. I think the wrestling will neutralize a lot of Burns' weapons, whether it's his ground game or his stand up. I mean, we've seen him knock out Damian Maia. We've seen him really put it on Tyron Woodley, but I think that's going to get neutralized against Usman. I think Usman is the better fighter. I think he wins a decision. I don't think he gets a finish in this one. I think in Usman fashion, it goes back and forth, but he does end up pulling out the decision here.
Yeah, and I'm also a big fan of both, but I'm gonna agree with you there. I think that's a perfect call, perfect prediction. There you have it, folks, from our friend Mr. James Lynch. Again, I don't want to hold you up too long, but again, thank you for doing this, man, and thanks for we had some issues behind the scenes. I told him a long time, and he made time still. So thank you very much, James, for doing that. Keep doing what you're doing for Canadian combat sports, man. And any big shout outs? Where can everybody find you online?
Easiest way is Twitter, Instagram, YouTube at Lynch on Sports. That's LYNCH. And we got to do this again, man. Anytime you want me on, you give me a holler. I'll come on. We'll make time to do it. We'll definitely do a longer time. It was just a weird kind of scheduling thing today, but we'll definitely make it happen, man. I love talking to you, man. And I'm happy to support anything Canadian related as well. We gotta all stick together here,
I couldn't agree more. At the end of the day, I said it yesterday in a post, like we're all in this little weird combat sports community around the world together. And most people outside the combat sports community think we're weird as hell. So at least we can do is
let them think we're weird. We'll have our cool club on our own.
There
right?
you go.
There you go.
All right, buddy. Well, you have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks very much. And we'll speak very soon.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate you having me on. And thanks to your audience for tuning in. Really appreciate it. And you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy the fight.
There you have it, folks. Lynch on Sports. James Lynch. Super happy to chat with him, get some predictions, and kind of figure out everything that's going on there out in Vancouver. Apparently doing shows. So what the fuck? Anyway, we're going to stay positive in this podcast until, we move forward. We're working on a couple things behind the scenes. I'm not taking no for an answer. So, period. So, things are going to change, and there's going to be more transparency, or I won't be in the game. It's just that simple. So, it's 2021, and there's more ways to do things. If you don't feel safe, then there's people who do. So, anyway, I don't want that to come off that we don't care about safety by any means, and that we don't appreciate. I think some people maybe think we're being a little bit greedy thinking that, but at the end of the day, when your business is shut down for 16 months, for me, it's about fair. When other sports are moving forward, it says all sports can move forward. When you receive authority from the Nova Scotia Health permission, when you receive everything positive, but then you get an answer of no, it kind of kicks you right in the balls. So anyway, hopefully we'll get some more information, and we'll try to move forward in June, I guess. But it's a dark day here for Fight League Atlantic, but we'll try to stay positive, and it's all we can do. All right, folks, be good to one another out there. Kick the shit out of each other when you train. Train very hard. And yeah, April 9th, we're going to do a jiu-jitsu event, another pay-per-view, Submission Kumite 2, with limited fans, probably 50 seats for sale, and then pay-per-view. So that's our plan. April 9th. That's exactly 2 weeks away from tomorrow, I think. So yeah, anybody who's purple belt in jiu-jitsu or even some blue belts, maybe, absolute bracket we're going to pull off. So probably Nova Scotia athletes only. So if you're interested in competing, get in touch with us and we will go from there. All right, folks. A new shirt dropping next week too. We're dropping a new sheet on the store, a new shirt on the store next week. So yeah, you'll see it then. All right, folks. Be good to one another. We're out of here.